After the recent Djokovic loss in Madrid, at what point do we accept the fact that he is probably winding down? All right, so the last month in Djokovic world gives you whiplash because you have the run of the Miami final where he beat a lot of guys in very dominant fashion. Yes, he lost a final that on paper he would most certainly want to win. But to go from that to being so listless as to not even look like a top 50 player. Okay, you lose 3-4 against Tabilo. You lose 3-4 against Matteo Arnaldi. They're both good clay court players, but the way he lost was just as concerning as the fact that he did lose. That is a wild swinging range of results right there. To the extent that the range is so large and the last two have been so bad that I just kind of feel like something is probably going on that we don't know about. And I know that sounds like I'm just like giving Djokovic a pass, but I do have some issue with being like, yeah, he's just old. Like, this is what happens to old players. This is not what happens to old players. Okay. Do aging players get more inconsistent? Yes. Do they generally decline? Yes. But normally it's not this drastic and wild. Didn't look like this for Nadal last year. Rafa wasn't going to make runs at all. We knew who he was. He was probably like the 25th best clay court player in the world last year. That was Rafa Nadal. We knew who he was. Andy Murray, he didn't do this. When he kind of came back from the hip surgery, it was very clear who he was. He was like he wasn't a top 30 player. He was never a top 30 player. He wasn't wild swinging up and down. Roger Federer, he wasn't losing first round. He wasn't going on losing streaks. That never happened. So to say like this is just totally normal for the guy to make the Miami final, for the guy to make the Australian Open semifinal, and then like 3-4, just horrible performances. To be like, yep, that's normal because he's old, it makes no sense. It's not normal. Now, could it be? Could it just be the motivation factor? And could that be like the thing? Maybe. I mean, I will throw this out there. Let me throw this out there. At majors since the start of last year, Novak Djokovic is 21-4. Alcaraz and Sinner have definitely been better than that. Zverev, their records are very, very close. You could make an argument that Zverev has been better. You could also probably make an argument that Djokovic has been better at the slams if you go since the start of last year. So sample size of the last 5 majors. So Novak Djokovic is at slams. And if I go back even further, then the case grows stronger, but I won't do that because we're trying to be as recent as possible. Since the start of 2024, he has been either the 3rd or the 4th best player in majors. Full stop. But at Masters 1000s events, he is now 16-10 in that period of time. 5 times he has failed to win multiple matches in Masters 1000 main draws. So we are now seeing an enormous gap in the productivity at majors and Masters. That is very clear evidence that this has a lot to do with just how much Novak can get himself to care. How much he can get him. And I always like to also stress that it's not just during the matches. It's also caring the week before. It's also caring the 2 weeks before. How hard are you training? How hard are you preparing? And this stuff matters a lot, along with when you're actually in the heat of battle, how much fire do you have in your belly in that moment as well. Both things matter. But let's definitely acknowledge what a big difference there has been between Djokovic at majors and Masters. I think it's very important to certainly come to grips with this. And Novak said, this quote was aggregated a lot. He said, "I have a new reality." Let's come to grips with this, and let's be very, very clear. The new reality is when Novak Djokovic enters a best-of-3 set tournament, he could lose to anybody. It is no longer a surprise when he loses first round. It's just not. He could lose first round to anybody. And then there's the pulling out of Rome. Goes back to my overall feeling, like, what is going on right now? Like, something is happening other than he's 37. Okay? Because being 37, newsflash, it's not a reason to pull out of Rome. So I just think something is happening at the moment. I don't know what it is. Because it shouldn't be this wildly swinging from Miami to what we saw thereafter. And even Australian Open to, what we saw thereafter and what we've seen in the lead up to this Roland Garros.